All right, we're talking about families of hope and how your family can be a light to your community and to all those within your circle of influence. We've talked about family worship, talked about family group, and now we're going to talk about family outreach. As a family, God wants to unify you together with the family members as you reach out for Him, because God has called everybody to be a missionary for Him wherever you go. 24/7. There's no time off. You can't just say, well, it's not Sabbath or I'm not around Christians. We want to let our light shine, and reaching out to others just strengthens our bond with each other. For our family, as we've been in our family worship, sometimes we'd say, how can we help somebody else? And we'd hear that maybe that older member of the church was in the hospital. And so we decide that maybe this Sunday afternoon or Sabbath afternoon is a great time to go out and visit people. We'd go to the hospital, and we go into the hospital room, and I remember there's this one little gentleman in Wenatchee, Washington, godly saint, Elmer Brody. He'd worked for years in community service and done so much good. And there he was in pain, but he kept smiling anyway. And I said, how are you, Elmer? And he says, I'm good. As the pain was getting to his body. I think he was 90, 95. And I said, Elmer, we've just come to visit you. Thank you so much. And I said, can we sing for you? And he said, yes. And so I looked at one of our kids, whoever was in charge of worship that week, and they said, let's sing, I Want to See Jesus Lifted High. And I knew Elmer had probably never heard that song. That was not from his generation, but from many generations younger. But we sang it together as a family. I want to see Jesus lifted high, a banner that flies across the sky, so all men will see and know that He is the way to heaven. And when we finished the song, Elmer said, I want to see Jesus lifted high too. And within the week, Elmer had fallen asleep in Jesus. And the next thing he'll know is that second coming of Jesus, when He will come up out of the grave and he will see Jesus like a banner lifted high. And everyone will know that they're on their way to heaven if they're flying to meet Him in the air. So family outreach, visits to hospitals, visits to people in the nursing home, visits to families that are discouraged. There are lots of things that can be done in family outreach. One of the things that I've found to be very valuable is literature distribution. In fact, with these glow tracts you can get from a number of conferences. We have gotten a number from the Central California Conference. GLOW stands for Giving Light to Our World, one page at a time. You can get a batch of 100 very reasonably, and you can take these and just pass them out everywhere. So we've taught our kids that whenever we're on a road trip, we're praying that God will help us as we give one of these pieces of literature as we go along. If they were a little shy, we just tell them leave it on the counter in the bathroom, or stick it behind the pump at the gas pump, or wherever you go, you can leave literature there. I remember one time I was taking our second son Dustin with me. We were down in San Antonio, Texas, and had done some training there. And then we had a little break, and so we went out to the Alamo, a very historic site there for Texas history. And we had some of these little flyers and literature. And Dustin was passing them out so fast as this little kid that I just was stalking him and handing him a batch, and he'd pass out a bunch more. And finally came to one guy and tapped him on the pant leg and handed the piece of literature. And one of the U.S. Park Service agents looked down at him and looked over at me and said, are you passing these out? And I said, well, my son is. He says, well, that's against the law on government property. And I looked at Dustin, and he had this look as if to say, uh-oh, am I in trouble? Are they going to arrest me and take me away from you, Daddy? And I looked down at Dustin, and I said, Dustin, he's telling us we have to go across the street so we can keep passing them out. And it was a chance for him to learn that when you run into an obstacle in doing work for God, you don't just give up. You just look for another avenue, another place, another person. And this way, outreach continues on. Literature is a powerful way to bond the family together as you're passing it out wherever you go. When we would go to restaurants, we'd leave it with a bill. But you got to leave a decent tip if you're going to do that, so that they don't just kind of say, well, this person's cheap, why would I read this? I found that you can walk through a mall and hear all these people sitting at kiosks, bored out of their minds. And you can hand one to them, and when you go back a few minutes later, you'll see several of them actually reading it. Some of them will toss it, but that's all right. We get the literature out wherever we go. And so family outreach is a great way for your family to be a family of hope, one of the families of hope. And then finally, there's that family hope ingredient. And that is really just reinforcing the idea that everything that we do and all the decisions we make need to be based on the understanding that very soon Jesus is coming again. You know, the Bible prophecies, those outline prophecies, like that giant statue of Daniel 2, you look at that and you see we are living in the toenails of the great statue. And then those beasts of Daniel 7, we are living in the tip of the little horn of Daniel 7. And then you look at the time prophecies and you see that the last time prophecy ran out 160 plus years ago. And so these are just some of the evidences, along with the signs that Jesus gave in Matthew 24 and Mark 13 and Luke 17, Luke 21, that let us know it won't be long. It won't be long. We don't have to be nervous or fearful or wring our hands in fear. We can just know Jesus is coming soon. And He said that the last sign is that the gospel of the kingdom will go to all the world, be preached as a witness to all nations, and then the end will come. And as you, with your family, determine to be one of the families of hope, the gospel will continue to emanate from your home and wherever you go. And people will have a better chance to be ready when Jesus comes again soon. Because very soon the sky will open and our eyes will change so we can see clearly 2 billion miles, and we'll see Jesus sitting there on the cloud, and He'll be looking at us and we'll be looking at Him. And He'll smile and He'll motion for us to come up, and we'll think, me? I'm not worthy. I don't deserve this. We look down, we see we're already off the ground, so we keep our eyes on Jesus, and we fly to meet Him in the air. And the first people we'll look for is our family. So now is the time to make our best efforts. It may mean completely redirecting our schedules, shutting off the TV, keeping out darkness from our home, but looking to guide gently, lovingly, caringly, with God's wisdom and power, our family into family worship, with other families into a family group, and then to do family outreach and to have the hope of Jesus' soon return. God bless you as you try this, and let us know some of your stories on the website familieshope.org. We'll be waiting to hear from you.